Hello and welcome everyone to Taco Movie Talks. We are in week 10, episode 10, and I am happy to be joined by Ethan from Film Junkie for the fifth time. Am I correct on that, Ethan?
I think you are, yeah. Just fine.
We got a awesome week. It is Werner Herzog, definitely a director I very much like. But I think you guys are really going to like Ethan's channel, which I'm going to be linking in the description. He can be found at Film Junkie on YouTube. And again, look in the description to check his channel out. Be sure to watch his short films, give him a subscription, comment, and like his videos. Ethan, just do you want to talk a little bit more about your channel and maybe your movie takes for anyone who just stumbled upon this video?
Yeah, sure. I am an aspiring filmmaker, I guess, and love, I just really love movies a lot. I watch a lot of them. Uh, I guess my takes would be varied, but I'm definitely one of those pretentious film buffs. Um, more darker, more disturbing stories. So Werner Herzog is a good director.
Yeah. The films that we chose for this week were Grizzly Man and Woyzeck, I believe that's the best pronunciation I think you're gonna get out of me, but you're dead
Yeah,
on the money. Very dark the stories are.
yeah.
And also, I'm going to link Ethan's letterboxd profile, which I think you guys should check out as well because I think you have some really cool lists on there, especially with directors. Um,
Yeah.
has watching Werner made you want to try to watch a good bit of his stuff to accumulate a list for him as well?
I actually already have accumulated a list over the past couple of days. I've been actually watching a lot of his movies.
Oh, no way. How many
Yeah.
are you at currently?
I think I'm 6 or 7 films deep. Isn't that right?
Wow. Okay. At the end,
Yeah.
we should just discuss some of the films that we've seen, um, like what our favorites are, or how we have them ranked so
Yeah.
far. I think that would be neat.
Yeah. There's definitely a couple that I'm missing. I have not watched probably his most famous movie, which is Fitzcarraldo. I gotta get on
That's
that.
yeah. I think if you like um, if you like him at all, I think it's kind of pinnacle Herzog. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's definitely one to check out. And the thing that I
Yeah.
like is I think the majority, if not like all of his films are on Tubi for free, which I think is really the main reason I was able to kind of stumble upon him.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. Exactly.
I was just scrolling through. I think I was looking on Letterboxd, and I'm always trying to check to see whether I have access to any of the films. Saw the kind of poster for Aguirre, The Wrath of God, and
Hmm.
there's something about that poster, man. Like Klaus Kinski kind of looks. He has a certain energy to his face that is just unmatched.
He's always got a certain energy, but we'll definitely talk about him.
Oh, for sure. Uh, let's start off with Grizzly Man, 2005, obviously Werner Herzog movie documentary, and I'll give just a slight plot summation. The film kind of covers the work that Timothy Treadwell did under his organization of Grizzly People, where he went to a national park in Alaska for 13 summers in an attempt to preserve the the grizzly's habitat, and ultimately led to his death, which I was not sure if that was a spoiler or not when you had said you were going to watch this, but I think it's in, if you are to look at this film, like the description on Tubi or the description on Letterbox, I think they actually do throw that in there. But when you said you were watching it, I didn't want to let on that that was a possibility. But I'm assuming you probably actually knew that.
Yeah, well, I think so. Grizzly Man came out in 2005, and Treadwell and his girlfriend passed away in 2003.
Yeah, I think from like the footage or the camera shots from the crime scene, it was early
Yeah.
October in 2003, and I vaguely remember because I mean I was not too old when this movie came out, but it was very much talked about. Like I know like
Hmm.
comedians were kind of like telling jokes about it, and I think it
Yeah.
was just, I don't know, documentaries sometimes can catch the imagination of people and get talked about a
Hmm.
good bit. Like
Yeah.
but it's I think it's rarer for documentaries to do that as opposed to like movies. Like when an
Yeah.
Avengers movie comes out, that's like talked about a good bit, but documentaries not quite so
Yeah.
much. And I think this
Yeah.
was definitely uh one
Yeah.
that got a good bit of talk.
Yeah. Well, the Treadwell, because Treadwell was a very talked about figure himself. He was sort of controversial in the public eye.
Mm.
He His story got so famous he was even on David Letterman
Yeah.
once, which that's big.
Yeah. Um yeah, another like a point you touched on that I liked from a documentarian, and this might be divisive, but he doesn't stray away from giving both points of view.
Exactly. Yeah. He he. I feel like you come into this from the perspective of the public eye, in that why did he do this? That was really dumb
Hmm.
for him uh to go in here and hang out with these grizzly bears open. Uh and he paid the price for it. So you're wondering, how could you, Werner? So I said in my letterbox review, Werner Herzog looked at this man and said, "I appreciate this man. How can I show the world that?"
Hmm.
And so he looks at it not only from a preservative perspective, like a nature preservative perspective, but also from a documentarian and art perspective.
Hmm.
And he touches upon how Treadwell captured such beauty in these animals, and he almost had like a natural gift for it.
Yeah. Like it felt like Treadwell's connection, whether he realized it or not, but like it allowed him to really capture just stuff you're never gonna see, and like
Mhm.
the foxes following him. I don't
Yeah,
know, like I built a almost a sympathy. I empathized with Treadwell a good bit through all the footage they showed
yeah,
of him.
yeah. You end up sympathizing with him at the end, but you can also see where everyone else is coming from.
Exactly. Yeah, there was so many like really good points where I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree with both, and I see their methodology and their thought process for it. And they were
Mhm.
just, in their minds, they were trying to do what they thought was right to the best of their abilities.
Mhm.
Like, for example, I think it was at a, I don't know if museum is the right word, but it was where they had the great big grizzly bear kind of, not statue. It was taxidermed. So, and
Mhm.
the hand was cut off, and the guy was kind of, he was going in on Treadwell a little bit. He was like that he clearly didn't agree with what he was doing, and then Herzog very astutely asked the question that he said like he was trying to help the bears, you know.
Mhm.
And then the the guide or the owner was able to lay out like a really good argument as to why it really, he thought, wasn't a good idea. So to get well structured arguments on both sides is, I like it a lot because it's like, look, take these tools and make your own decision, and you feel like you get
Mhm.
enough tools on both sides.
Yeah. And both of those sides come to a point to form the main underlying question of was his demise deserved or inevitable? And
Mhm.
you can kind of come to your own conclusion on that by the end.
I think Herzog, he clearly has like a fascination of odd stories of, I may maybe to just boil it down as much as possible, just people who are just driven. And
Yeah.
because I mean clearly here Treadwell is so driven, um to quit drinking, um just because you were so passionate about something, I think is a really big statement in and of itself. Let alone, I'm going to live in a tent in the woods for like 3 months at a time, and then I'm gonna risk my life by being by grizzly bears.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a reoccurring thing within his films is people who are, you know, on a path, and you get to see kind of a different side of people that we don't normally see.
Yeah, a different kind of person.
Hmm. That's the best way to put it, I think.
Hmm.
What did you think, as far as there was kind of an allusion towards the fact that Treadwell kind of knew, uh, or maybe had a feeling that he was going to perish before he did?
Um, well, I feel like he knew good and well. By the end, you feel like he knew good and well that he was going to die.
Hmm.
Um, and even like some people call it suicide by bear because
Ooh,
he went to the grizzly maze, uh, to the grizzly bear maze, which is like a thing of a place in that little habitat of grizzly bears where it's really unsafe.
I think he even
And
mentioned that as well, that the Grizzly Maze is much more dangerous than the part he was staying at prior.
yeah, um, and he said like, yeah, and yeah, I feel like the documentary, uh, definitely sh not shapes it, but it definitely leads you to believe that Treadwell did know he was going to die,
Hmm.
but you don't know if he was going to die.
Yeah. It seemed it was like an acceptance that if it were to happen, it would just happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, I should say you don't know if he knew he was gonna die.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
The tidbit too, which and I'm not sure if you knew this, the audio that Werner listened to, which was essentially the last recording from Treadwell as
Yeah.
he was being attacked, is currently it has never escaped the the former girlfriend. So it likely was destroyed because it's I guess it's one of those pieces of infamous lost media,
Yeah.
which is you know
Insane.
yeah. So like because okay, so did you get any like kind of weird feelings from that woman or the other friend, the male friend of Treadwell?
Hmm.
They seemed
Um.
a little goofy.
Well, I thought the Timothy's ex
Mhm.
seemed a bit off in that was so she was so open about being Timothy's like Timothy's girlfriend
Mhm.
and stuff, and it came across to me like it was not it was not genuous.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It seemed a
it's
bit disingenuous to
I
me.
I got that exact same feeling. And then the guy who was kind of describing him, it kind of seemed like he was like reading a monologue when he was describing stories of Treadwell.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly certain that that wasn't something that Herzog was like, "Hey, I want you to read this story, act like it's your own." I literally think it was like, inside motivations because the guy was an actor, and I kind of thought
Hmm.
he like wanted to add something to his acting reel a little bit. I don't know
Oh
if you
yeah.
got that sense.
I don't. Yeah. I didn't even know he was an actor, to be honest.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just I was mostly lost in the story and the and Treadwell's footage
Yes.
more so than the interviews and stuff. The
Mhm.
interviews are very interesting though. A lot of them. Just I didn't. I was getting lost in those, and I was getting lost in the entire story. That I guess I didn't pay attention that they were actors.
Yeah. Well, just the one guy. 'Cause I
Just the
literally
one. Is he? Are you talking about the mortician? The no.
no, he came off very theatric as well, though. He was the
Yeah,
guy. He was like on the beach as he was speaking, or like right off the beach. Um,
gotcha.
and he was the one he talked about, like Treadwell, like boogie boarding, and he's like, yeah, his hair would always come up and cover his receding hairline. And then
Oh,
he told a story, and he had like dramatic pauses and stuff. And I was like, he even had like a catchphrase. I can't remember. Oh, he's like
yeah.
something about a cow. I can't remember what the phrase was. He's like, if it doesn't bother the
Cowabunga.
cows, if it doesn't bother the cows, it doesn't bother me. And it didn't bother the cows, which was. Did
I guess
you?
that's like one part of the movie I didn't remember.
So he didn't nail his lines well enough, clearly.
Yeah, I don't think you should become an actor.
Did you find any humor in this whatsoever?
Yeah, I actually did. Mostly from, I think mostly from Treadwell,
Yes.
just because he goes on these really weird rants. Um, I don't know if they're supposed to be funny, but they're they're not funny in the sense that like you're like laughing out loud at how funny they are, but it's just like so darkly funny in a way that you can't help but just
Yeah.
like giggle a little bit. Like he has, because he has this really. Oh yeah, I remember my favorite scene, but the funniest scene, but there he has this really weird rant on gay, like how
Oh,
he should be gay, but
yeah.
he's not. And I was just like, what does this have to do with anything?
I truly think it's because I know there obviously there was portions where he was with his girlfriend, but
Hmm.
I think that isolation just kind of he like made him a little cuckoo for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
C-
He even filmed the bear fight. I was gonna bring this up too. I thought this was funny as well. He filmed the bear fight, which was really well done.
mhm.
And in the midst of the fight, one of the bears just like bowel exits.
Yes.
He just takes a dump right there during the fight, and at the end of the fight, the bear fight, says like, I mean, it was so intense that uh, that he just crapped himself. He just went to the bathroom right there.
Yeah, his he was like he was a funny character, I thought. Like,
Hmm.
but just in like the most wholesome way possible. Um that
Yeah,
fight scene was freaking wickedly awesome. Like to capture
it
that
was really well shot. Yeah.
exactly, which is something that I think should be said is that he really did catch some magnificent moments, and I know we touched on that at the beginning, but from a humorous element, I don't know if this was your favorite scene as well, or did you say your favorite scene was the one where he kept talking about being gay?
No, no, not that. I just thought it was funny.
That was hilarious. My favorite scene was he was recording himself. I think he does a good take, and then he just starts unloading on
Yes.
like the
Yep.
wildlife life preserve, and there's like it's so funny because
Yeah.
you hear part of it and then it cuts to Herzog's voiceover narrative. He's still going and then cuts back, he's still going. And
Yeah.
that was just one of those like it's a dark movie, but there's definitely humorous elements to it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that is probably my favorite scene in the movie as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is and it is like humorous in a way, but it's also you could tell that he's hiding like
Mhm.
a deep hidden rage within him, uh, and that passion channels his rage, and
Mm.
it comes out in that video.
Exactly. He's
And what you get is a very interesting insight into his mind and how he thinks.
so here's a something I would like to get your take on. Um
Hmm.
I watched this with my girlfriend, and she had said because clearly he was trying to uh, come across like very, very friendly and certain stuff, and then you get to see these different aspects to him when he's just like you said, like filled with rage, but it's fueled by his passion. Okay. And
Yeah.
I think I my take might be a bit of a cop out or whatever. But she's like, I don't know which one is the true him. And to me, I think they both are. being absolutely genuine, because I do think
Yeah.
everything was fueled by his message, by what he was trying to do, and it was just pure passion the whole way around that was fueling everything.
Yeah, exactly.
For, I guess, if Timothy Treadwell were to watch this film, uh,
Hmm.
do you think he would like it, and do you think he would like appreciate the way he was portrayed?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I, I don't know what he was like if you obviously I don't know what he was like in terms of like if you were to have a conversation with him because
Mhm.
for like near with the exception of that Letterman clip, he is for the entire time he is only in wildlife. He's only with the animals.
Mhm. Ye
So I don't know what he would be like in conversation.
yeah.
If I were to go to his ghost and say, "Hey, this man, this German man made a documentary about you." He looked at it. I don't know what he would say.
Yeah. That is a very good point that I think you bring up. Um, we get, I think, a pretty good shot of kind of his inner feelings through his own
Hmm.
recordings, right? But he seemed very like there's a lot still there that we just really don't know and probably never will know unless we knew him personally.
Yeah.
What would you rate this one?
Um, I I really liked this documentary. I thought it was a very interesting and compelling experience overall.
Mhm.
I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
I'm right there with you. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think if you enjoy documentaries, this is a must watch. Um,
Yeah. Well, Grizzly Man is if you're interested in documentaries at all, Grizzly Man is a mandatory watch.
for sure. Any closing thoughts on this one?
No, I think we should move on.
On to Woyzeck. Would you like
Woyzeck, yes,
would you like to describe this one?
yes, I will. Um, Woyzeck is about I forgot his first name. Gosh dang it! Oh,
Franz? Is it Franz?
is it France? Is it France? Yeah,
Yes.
it's France Woyzeck, who is a sort of military dog who is very hapless in life,
Hmm.
and he's constantly beaten around by life, and he's starting to come to his wits end, and that's it. that's, that's it.
I
So I'm just gonna
consider
say, uh, I was just gonna say right off the bat, this pick was my complete default.
I really liked it.
You are obviously really.
I you know, the rating might not reflect it, but I thought it was a good pick, honestly.
Yeah. It's funny because I picked this by default because if you viewers are regular viewers of the channel, which you should be, uh, he Travis has done a lot of Werner Herzog films, and I've been trying to look through all the reviews you've done to pick which one, and every time I find one, I'm like, "Oh, has he reviewed this?" And it turns out you did, and I said, "Dang it!" So this one was by default, and it's very funny that you liked it because I didn't like it.
I
I
can definitely see the faults that you would
mhm,
probably dislike.
yeah.
For
Um,
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for me, I would say it's not a bad film. It's not a really bad movie at all, but I'd say it's mediocre for me.
I could see that. Um, there's certainly parts that are like just funky, weird, and then there's and
Hmm.
and this second part does dip into the funky weird territory, over dramatic for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
uh, the one thing as a whole that I do like is I find it to be an interesting character study, and
Hmm.
you get to see Franz really just beaten down, like brought to wit's
Yeah,
end.
yeah. Um, so here's the thing. Uh, I like Werner Herzog a lot. I wouldn't say I love him overall, but
Hmm.
I like him a lot. And one of the reasons why I like him is his close attention to realistic portrait, like character portraits.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, like Aguirre, the Wrath of God, Strazek, The Enigma of Caspar Hauser. I think those films really give just a believable and relatable portrait of of their main characters. And Woyzeck is really melodramatic to me and not realistic at all. It even has like even the cinematography to me just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb.
Hmm.
Where like it was just it felt like a play. It felt like like a theater play.
It certainly did. Um, there's especially two pretty big examples that I would like to, if you feel like this kind of were examples that stuck out in your head as well. Um,
Hmm.
one is in Franz and not his baby mama's house, who's it's Ava Mates is the actress, um,
Yeah,
whose character name I can't remember off the top of my head,
yeah,
but he's like about to strike her, and he dramatically just like kind of holds his fist up above her
yeah.
head,
Exactly.
and that one's like it's over dramatic, but not
Yeah,
super kind of take you out of it maybe. But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the big one, which and so I don't know, I think I kind of liked it as I watched it, but it was very very over dramatic, and it was the murder
yeah.
scene.
I was gonna say that was kind of the scene that honestly turned me off from the film.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Um,
kind of cemented my feelings about it.
I think if you woulda maybe shortened it a bit, it
Yeah,
it
because it's
w
all in slow motion. Like
exactly.
the entire thing is in slow motion, and I'm just like, really?
And I think and maybe I'm wrong, but I would like to hear your opinion because if you think the same, it's
Hmm.
probably true. I think it was like, slowed down via editing, and then I also
Yeah.
think the actors were, like, going in slow motion too. You, like, acting it
Hmm.
out like the beats were, like, at half speed, you know?
Uh, I don't know if I would say that because the here's why. So when Woyzeck first goes in to stab her, uh I that kind of ruins my suspension of disbelief because he's holding the blade
He hit
away
her with
from
the handle.
her stomach.
I
Yeah, I
know.
was like, what the hell?
I know. I
So, and it definitely looked like it was at full speed.
Okay.
So, I don't think it was, they were also doing it in slow motion, but if it was, interesting.
Yeah, I picked up on that too, and it wasn't even something I had to rewind. It was like I was like that he's holding I was like I guess they didn't have retractable blades on set.
Yeah. And then like you think that maybe like maybe he was just like hitting her in the stomach to put her down to the ground or something. But one, that would be a really stupid idea.
Yes.
Two, you could see that she's bleeding. She starts to bleed when she falls down on the ground.
Uh-huh. I think
So it's
that was in
yeah.
an attempt to clearly they wanted it to make it look like it's connecting with the abdomen, but also
Mhm.
so that the blood could stay on the blade. But obviously, there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And then after she hits the ground, you think they're just going to do all this in one take, but I guess, to try to
Hmm.
cover it up even more. Like there's a cut right before she hits the ground, and when he starts stabbing her more. And did you think
Hmm.
he was just stabbing the ground too, or what do you think? Maybe like a
Yep.
rice bag or something.
Yeah. I was thinking he was just stabbing the ground around her.
It's yeah, I could definitely see that being a big turn off as far as this film. Um,
Hmm.
to me, the better elements of the film were I mean, lead that being the ending, I liked. I think the execution could have been better, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't know where else I would take that. Um,
Yeah.
but to just kind of see him just be like almost in a daze. I had to reread the like synopsis on Letterbox because I was like, is the scientist drugging him or is it just the diet that's making him like this?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I guess that's an interesting dilemma.
Yeah, because he seemed like freaking out there with some of the stuff he was saying.
Yeah. Definitely.
And also his like I think the other private, the one that he kind of gave his possessions to before he committed the murder, he seemed like even more hapless and oblivious than Woyzeck, who's like on the brink of insanity, which is like really
Yeah.
saying something.
Yeah.
He almost seemed like he was very childlike.
Yeah.
And I do think it's interesting because when you say you like his presentation of like very like kind of realistic people, like they might be oddballs, but they come off realistic. Um,
Yeah.
most of them, even um the person in the marching band, they kind of
Yeah.
that like for the most part, no one really. The captain didn't come off like like a normal person. The scientist
Yeah.
didn't come off normal. Um,
Yeah.
maybe the
Which,
wife is the only one, or
yeah,
not the wife, the mother of the baby.
yeah. Which to me, if it was a director like Jean Renoir or someone else like that, I feel like it would work. But the
Mhm.
reason, like, to me, a good director is someone who's able to hold a consistency within their films
Mhm.
and able to make interesting story, different, like differentiating interesting stories within his or her work. And Herzog has a consistent level of realism to his films. That's the reason why I like him so much. But Woyzeck just felt it stuck out for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I do get that. I'm trying to think. Um, of what aspects were were good. I guess from your perspective, I can totally see um why you feel the way you do because I think you're right on it. Definitely you can tell it's Herzog um just because he always is looking for landscape uh bodies of water. Is that something that you
Yeah,
have begun to pick up on from Herzog's?
yeah.
he
Bodies of water.
He oh, I think there was maybe one that didn't have, like, a body of water prevalently filmed, and I was like, "Oh my god, like, this is something because it was, like, 4 films in a row where it's like, he
Yeah.
has to show a body of water at some point. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I guess I kinda liked the how the conversation with the captain and Woyzeck was kind of one of those themes that finally tied together at the end. I kind of
Yeah.
liked the how that message was portrayed, where the captain is just he's just tearing into to Franz, like to his face. He's taking it
Yeah.
because it's a superior, but Wojciech makes um, kind of a really good point that it makes a lot of sense in the entirety of this film, and it's that kind of like the poor man has no use for virtue, like the poor man has no use for being like not a good man, but for morals.
Yeah.
That path of like having to do these just extreme measures to get an extra dime is
Yeah.
ultimately what leads him to where he's not present at home, which leads his wife to cheat, and then also those extreme measures make him just begin to lose it to where he feels like murder is the answer.
Yeah. And from that aspect, it's interesting.
Mhm.
Like, um, there are definitely some aspects to this film that are interesting. I actually think that the first two acts are decent. They're
Mhm.
not great in my opinion, but they're decent. It's a decent film for the first two acts. I think for me personally, it's that third act that kind of falls apart for me.
Yeah. So I'm definitely I'm interested. What did you rate this one?
Um, Usually when I think a movie's not bad or not good, I go straight down the middle. So that's what I'm doing with this. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10.
Okay. I I I I'm a little bit higher than you on this one. I gave this
Hmm.
one 3.5. So I gave it a 7. But
Hmm.
I definitely see where you're coming from. And if you want to go into films, I will say this is not my favorite Herzog movie. So
Hmm.
um
Yeah, I
that
definitely have my favorites.
um so do you want to you can pull up your list if you'd like, and we can just go through what we've seen and
Yeah.
why we like the top ones more. Uh, so
Yep.
I can go first. My number one is a movie that you have yet to see, and I
Yeah.
think you will really like it. It's Fitzcarraldo. Um,
Hmm.
it's an insane story. Um, and it's one of those movies where the stuff that went on behind the scenes, I think, is even crazier, and
Yeah.
it makes me want to watch. There's a documentary. It's called Burden of Dreams, and I think it
Hmm.
covers the behind the scenes of it's either Aguirre or Fitzcarraldo because a lot of wild stuff goes on. behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Um, my number two is Into the Inferno. Have you seen that documentary yet?
I have not.
I would check that out. It's like in a way like Grizzly Man, that like on the face of it there's kind of an
Hmm.
interesting premise, but he's able to dig deeper into the story to unveil like a narrative that isn't quite I guess expected.
Hmm.
My number 3 is My Best Friend. Have you seen that documentary yet?
I have not. No.
That one, I think if I were to recommend, because you have seen some Klaus Kinski movies with Herzog, correct?
Yeah.
This really it delves into the relationship between the two, and Klaus is an absolute wild man, and
Yeah.
to find out about his like personality while they're not shooting, you can kind of see that how he's just really able to bring that energy on film, because he it seems to always just have this manic energy about him. uh,
Yeah.
he's like just ranting and raving in between takes. It is insane.
Yeah.
uh Number 4, Nosferatu, which
Yep.
you've seen this one.
I have seen this one.
um what are your thoughts on Nosferatu?
It is. It's not saying too much, but it is my favorite Dracula adaptation that I
Hmm.
have seen so far.
Yes.
I like it more than the original Nosferatu. I like it more than the Bela Lugosi Dracula. I liked it more than the Christopher Lee Dracula. I even liked it more than the Gary Oldman Dracula.
Wow.
Um,
Yes, yes. People, and that is definitely one of the movies, just to jump around a little bit, but Dracula by Coppola is one of the
mhm.
movies that I think maybe the majority of people do see it this way, but like, very big fans of cinema seem to have a
Yeah,
love for it. And to me, I
yeah,
felt like there was some untapped potential for that one.
I
Um,
absolutely agree.
I felt like it
Absolutely agree.
could have been a masterpiece. Um,
Yeah,
and it was good. It was very stylish. There was certain aspects that were just brilliant, but I prefer Nosferatu to Dracula as well.
yeah,
Um, which is kind of funny because which is, Coppola and Herzog did two movies that are very similar based on the same subject material for two movies, and I'm gonna get to the one coming up, but it's Apocalypse Now and Aguirre are both based on
Aguirre, yeah.
Into the Heart of Darkness, and I say
Yes.
the score is 1-1 as far as I'm considered. Would you agree with that, or did you prefer The Wrath of God to Apocalypse Now?
Oh, that's tough. Because I haven't gotten to my list, but Aguirre, the Wrath of God so far is my favorite film by Werner Herzog.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. Um, well, for number 5 is Grizzly Man, and we went over a good portion. My number 6
Mhm.
is Aguirre, or how do you say it?
Aguirre. I
Aguirre.
just called
Okay.
him
I
Aguirre.
think, yeah, I like that pronunciation better than mine. um, it was the first one that I saw. Okay, so it clearly inspired me to watch more and more of his films, but
Hmm.
I only rated it 3.5 when I first watched it, just
Hmm.
because it was very slow at certain portions, but I want to rewatch it again with kind of a better appreciation for what Herzog does well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but It's like probably one of the highest 3.5 stars I've rated, but
Yeah,
it is very good, and I kind of think with the message that you ultimately get in the end, I think the whole movie would fit better for me. That is
yeah.
number
I
7.
love.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was okay. I love that super nihilistic portrait of that time period.
Yes.
How just it's such a interesting premise, and I really enjoy the characters, and the ending is really interesting, and the score even. I really like the score actually.
hmm It's definitely one I want to check out, and also I would recommend, for anyone who hasn't watched Werner, it's probably, if I were to recommend movies to start with, the three I would, it would be either Nosferatu, Aguirre, or Fitzcarraldo.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And then I end with Stroyzek, which I thought was very good. Bruno
Hmm.
S is the lead in that one, and
Yes.
he's a lot different than Klaus. So
Hmm.
I think that role really um, fit him well. And it's an odd character, but it's a really good story. And Eva Mates is also in that one, and she's really, really good in that film. And
Yeah.
then closed it out with Casper Hauser at number 8. But
Hmm.
all are above 3.5 stars for me. But
Hmm.
I think I'm beginning to realize I kind of like his documentaries a little bit more. But to me, Fitzcarraldo's the one that stands tall amongst the bunch. So, what are
Hmm.
your rankings?
All right, so I watched seven, and I think there's only one on there that you have not watched, from my understanding. So my number one is Aguirre, the Wrath of God, which we talked about. Uh, my number two is actually The Enigma of Caspar Hauser.
Oh, okay.
I really like that movie. Yeah, I loved that movie a lot. I just really enjoy, again, like the deep rooted themes. I feel like I could think about it a lot, especially how I call it meta filmmaking, honestly, because it kind of goes beyond the film and kind of breaks the fourth wall a bit
Mhm.
for me, and that's why I find it extremely interesting as a character study.
Did you feel
Uh,
like it was Herzog almost commentating on himself?
I feel like it was Herzog commentating on how how we look at like how we look at something that we deem weird.
Hmm. I think that is a really good point, especially because he's
Mm.
like Casper is made a part of like a circus at a certain point, and
Yeah,
it is definitely I can see that for sure.
yeah. My number three is Grizzly Man, which we already talked about. My four is Nosferatu the Vampire, which we did talk about a little bit. I want to say up front that the reason why it's my favorite is probably because Herzog adapts his realistic direction and cinematography to the
Mm,
Dracula story, which makes it really creepy and really well made.
yes.
So I really like that movie a lot. My number five is Strazek. Uh, it's definitely a fan favorite. I don't love it as much as Casper Hauser in terms of Bruno S. Werner Herzog collaborations, but I really do enjoy it a lot. Six is, this is the only one you haven't seen, but I have, Land of Silence and Darkness.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, I actually don't like it that much,
Okay.
unfortunately. I just thought it was an interesting premise, with a not very interesting way of going about exploring that premise.
Hmm. That one is about blind and deaf people, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my number seven is Woyzeck, which we already talked about.
Yeah. Um yeah, I definitely see where I guess I didn't even put Woyzeck into my ranking when I went. Um
Hmm.
I guess I would probably that's a tough one. I think I might throw it in front of Schroizek for me. Just
Hmm.
I think Klaus is he's uh I think he's phenomenal, especially when he works with Herzog. So
Yeah.
I think that's
Of course.
the reason for me. Um,
Yeah.
do you have any closing thoughts, Ethan?
No, I think we wrapped it up nicely.
Cool, cool. Everyone, be sure to check out Ethan's channel. Give him likes, give him subscriptions because he's doing some cool stuff as far as filming goes. He has two short films for you to check out, and he's very gracious to do these reviews with me, and I very much appreciate them. So thank you for being a guest, Ethan. I do appreciate it a lot.
I'm always happy to do them, man.
I find we always have a good discussion whenever we we do these reviews together.
Absolutely.
Also, if you made it this far and you're excited for next week, we are going to do the theme of Godzilla movies next week. So it's going to be a little bit different than we've done mostly directors this far. So this is going to be different in that aspect. Uh, but I think we're going to get some good, and it's probably going to be different conversations. But I think it's going to be really good.
Hmm.
So be sure to like and subscribe to this channel as well. And thank you all for watching, and we will catch you on the next episode.